Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. We've got some awesome things to talk about today. The first of which is this new study, an official investigation into a set of artificial structures found on the backside of the moon. So new reports have just hit the web. A group of researchers and scientists recently published a paper in the Journal of Space Exploration regarding a set of certain features found on the backside of the moon that appear in a crater called Paracelsus C. That these features may be of an artificial origin, meaning that someone built and put them there. So the original photograph that featured these anomalous structures, and they are anomalous, we actually were one of the first channels to feature them over a year ago and published a video about it, but, back then there wasn't any sort of investigation or study. I think in that video, it was obvious the moment I saw them. I said, these things stick out like a sore thumb. They look like buildings, they look like installations. And it would appear that other people have taken notice as well, finally. So they were originally discovered in an Apollo image, which you can actually find online yourself. Here, we're going to look at the image, which is from Apollo 15, and the image number and the link I'll put down in the video description. So we're looking at the original photograph, and we're going to start zooming in, and you almost immediately will be able to detect these things from their shadows, from their shape. They do not look like anything else we've seen before on the moon, certainly do not blend in with the regular surface features. And unfortunately on this image, this is the closest that we can get. But you can obviously see the structures here where I'm circling, and we'll go ahead and zoom in manually further here. And so this was the original photograph that kind of sparked this huge amount of interest in this one little crater and these structures within it. And so later on, some years later, we got another photograph of these things, this time captured by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is the satellite probe that is mapping the moon. And once again, we were perplexed to see that these things were just as artificial as they looked in the original photograph from the 1960s. And so what this group did was they have a software tool that has a special set of algorithms that are used to detect artificial structures. And so as an example, you're seeing here a satellite image of Earth, and they loaded this into the software, and the software immediately detected what appeared to it and its algorithms as an artificial man-made structure. And that man-made structure is what you're seeing in this image on the right, where it basically blacks everything else out that is natural, and it leaves only the artificial structures in white. So that's what you're seeing here. It basically pinpoints the artificial structures. And so they were using this software, and they were scanning lunar satellite images and Apollo images. And that's when this specific crater was flagged in the software as containing artificial or man-made structures. And once again, you're seeing the comparison here where the software has highlighted the potentially man-made structures and blacked out all of the natural moon terrain. So then what they did was they took all of these different images and they put them together to create sort of a 3D visualization, which you're seeing here. And basically what they found, and is presented in the abstract in the paper, was that after analysis of the Apollo 15 photograph and the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter images of the two unusual features in this crater, at first glance, the structures appear to be walls or towers, but by combining these multiple images, they were able to see a much larger feature, oriented in the northeast to southwest direction, and it's not simply a wall, but two walls on either side of a narrow valley or, quote, passageway. And using this 3D terrain visualization, they were able to show what appears to be an entrance to this passageway. The abstract of the paper then goes on to say, quote, a reverse angle view looking southwest shows the passageway ending at a rise of terrain at the other end, possibly leading underground. The terrain surrounding the two structures is not flat, but appears, quote, excavated, by some unknown mechanism, natural or artificial. It is shown that these objects are visually different from the lunar background because their underlying structure is different. And so, I don't really think I need to say much more. If you have eyes and you're looking at these photographs, you can obviously tell that something is not right here. These structures, they do not look natural. And so this paper is proposing that this crater is a worthy candidate of future study by orbital missions and rovers. They point out that both of these features that have been analyzed in this area are statistically different from the surrounding terrain. The structures are unlike any feature seen on the moon to date. So yeah, it's big news, and I don't know if anything will come of it, seeing as that most mainstream scientists today tend to shy away from the UFO field or anything relating to extraterrestrials. Sure, they might say that they believe or they hope that there's life out there, but there's sort of an attitude in the scientific community where if you suddenly show an interest in UFOs or actually analyzing stuff like this, you are immediately chastised for it, you become a leper, and you won't have any scientists wanting to work with you. So, I'm just glad we have a paper here, and I think this is an amazing finding, and obviously artificial structures, but you guys let me know what you think. Now, while we're on the subject of space and strange things in it, we have some new, very interesting photographs of Saturn's moon Titan, which we've spoken about many times before. It's all the way out in the coldest reaches of our solar system, and it's nothing but a moon. And yet, it has an extremely thick atmosphere, has giant lakes and oceans of methane on its surface, has a weather system, and is oddly enough very similar to our own planet in a lot of ways. And so if you guys haven't heard about it, the Cassini spacecraft, which is nearly at the end of its mission, after all of these years flying around the solar system, taking some beautiful photographs of all of these different planets and moons, well, it just had its closest brush with Saturn's hazy orange moon that we know as Titan, and transmitted some images back showing some strange objects. And you're seeing the photograph here. By the way, Cassini, as I said earlier, it's at the end of its mission, and these photographs were taken on April 21st after the spacecraft made its 127th and final close approach to the moon, passing at an altitude of around 608 miles above the moon's surface. And this flyby has put Cassini on its dramatic final course, where the mission will conclude as the probe plunges headfirst into Saturn's atmosphere on September 15th of this year. And so we have these set of photographs here, the first of which shows some what look like objects of some sort sitting out in space above the moon. Now, two of these are basically just specks, but this third one here that's right above the atmosphere actually looks to have a shape to it. We're zooming in on that here, and yeah, as you guys can see, we have something that it almost looks like the shape of a letter P, or, well, a backwards P. Just kind of hovering there above the moon. We've seen these things above Mars before, and around a moon of Mars, Phobos. And so we've also seen them around Saturn, and there's a great book about these ships, and I'm saying ships, that have been detected or proliferating around Saturn. There's a book called The Ringmakers of Saturn, and it's a really great read, and it goes into detail analyzing all of these different Voyager images, where it was discovered that there were multiple of these miles-long cigar-shaped craft sitting within Saturn's ring system. And in some of the photographs, it almost appears that these giant ships are actually creating some of the rings. And so that's where you have the title of the book, The Ringmakers of Saturn. It's an awesome book. Check it out online. You can maybe find an old copy on Amazon, but it's an amazing book. And so we may have a snapshot of some of these structures once again here around Titan. Now here's another image where once again we have another shot of these objects sitting in the distance. Could they be moons of the moon? Sure, they could be. But unfortunately, we will never know for sure. And the last image, which I think is the most interesting, as the probe was approaching the atmosphere and we can actually start to see through the clouds onto the surface. And I want you to put your attention to this saucer-shaped object here sitting above the atmosphere, which is really plain to see. And so, yeah, let your clock tick on that for a minute and maybe imagine as to what this camera was capturing as it flew over this moon. But some very interesting images. And, you know, when this probe flies into the atmosphere of Saturn, we're going to get a first-hand look of one of the most giant, mysterious planets in our solar system. And it's going to be the first and last time that we get to take a peek inside of Saturn. So really cool stuff. I'll put the link to these images down below as well. So let me know what you guys think. And to end the video today, I'm going to leave you guys with a beautiful compilation video giving you a first-hand look at the Cassini probe's adventure and exploration of our solar system. This is not CGI, but a simple animation from the thousands of photographs snapped by the probe as it flew by the planets and the moons of our solar system. So thanks again for stopping by, and I will see you all back in just a bit.